Welcome to the Firebelly Social Show. We're focused on talking to food and beverage brands that are on a mission to make the world better.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Firebelly Social Show. I am so excited, as I always am. We got a great guest today. And at the Firebelly Social Show, we interview founders, CEOs, senior level leaders of food and beverage companies, especially ones that are mission driven. Those are the ones where I have the most fun, and we connect with founders that are really excited about what they're doing, and it's palpable. You really feel the excitement. And this episode is brought to you by Firebelly Marketing, a company I founded, and social media marketing. We love food and beverage. We've worked with some really big brands, Justin Winery, Landmark Winery, Netflix, although Netflix is not a food and beverage brand, but many other food brands like that. And so we help get them credibility and build them up on social. Now let's get into today's guest. So excited. I'm just going to give a teeny weeny intro because this dude's cool, and I'm going to say how we met too. So welcome to Rob Garwitz. And he's a co-founder and CEO of Halo Cleaver. And if you don't know Halo Cleaver, geez, listen, you gotta figure this out, because I met these guys promoting at Fresh Time, and I bought all of the products, and we love them. My whole family loves them. And they're taking the sugar out of America's favorite sauces like barbecue sauce, ketchup, and they're basically naturally sweetening it with apples, pineapples, bananas. And Rob's co-founded this company with his business partner Matt, and it's really an amazing story. And so let's get into it. Welcome, Rob.
Duncan, great to be here. Thanks for having me.
My man, it all started with Fresh Time for you and me.
That's right. Meet in a grocery store. That's how it works, right?
You guys were promoting, and we bought all the products, and we love them, and we have them at home. In fact, this is our second round of products now, so we've gone through the first round already. And what was the inspiration, my man? Like, how did you decide to get into this business and do without these artificial sugar loaded products?
Yeah, sure. Well, so this really goes back a number of years. So I have an athletic background. I'm a runner, and in my early 20s, started thinking about what I put in my body. Didn't previously think about that at all, and really had just an enlightening experience when I started eating cleaner and healthier, and developed a passion for it. And then my now wife, Emily, same thing. We went on this clean eating journey together, and ultimately decided, hey, look, and I wanted to do something in my career that helped bring this kind of natural food movement, clean eating, to light for more people. And so in business school a couple of years ago, I met my business partner, Matt, who is the original founder of Halo Cleaver. And he and I really saw eye to eye and aligned on this passion for clean eating and healthy lifestyle. And we teamed up. COVID kind of brought us together in a sense in mid 2020. And that's when we officially relaunched the company.
That's an amazing story. And I think it's so interesting. I'll throw a shout out to our client Dan Morowitz at Bake Believe, where they're doing chocolate for people that are cleaning up their diet, and eating, making better choices. And one of the things that we always talk about is it's not about avoiding certain things necessarily. It's about consuming the right things. Do you agree with that? Is that how you think as well?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And it's about balance too, Duncan. I mean, we really pride ourselves on, we want to be, a brand in a community that is saying, hey, there's no guilt here, right? I mean, if you indulge from time to time, that's definitely okay. But it's about bringing, I think, a lot of these issues to the forefront. For example, we always tell people, sugar, everybody knows sugar's a problem, right? It's really causing a lot of health issues in our country. 70% of adults now are overweight or obese. Children, there's an issue there too. Everybody knows that there's sugar in ice cream and soda, but what a lot of people don't realize, your average store-bought barbecue sauce, you have 2 servings, you just had a can of soda worth of sugar. right? I mean, let that sink in, right? 2 servings, and then you just had more than 35 grams of added sugar, right? So there's these sneaky ways in the food and beverage industry that you find sugar, and sauces are big culprit, and dressings. And so we really wanted to tackle that category for that reason, because we all use sauce, we all love sauce, whether that's dressings on a salad, or in our case, we kind of took some of America's favorite condiments, and we're from the Midwest, right? So we eat a lot of barbecue, we eat a lot of ketchup, and we cleaned them up, right? We said, there's got to be a better way. And like you said, we didn't just take out the sugar and replace it with something artificial. We took apples, pineapples, and then we even use a banana flour in our ketchup that's got gut-friendly benefits to it. And so not only are you eating something that still has delicious kind of natural sweetness to it, but functionally good for you.
I think that's the key, functionally good for you. I mean, I know that, you got to eat good things. You got to eat blueberries, and you got to eat asparagus, and you got to eat kale. And, if you're a meat eater, hopefully your meat's coming from a good place. If you're not a meat eater, how are you balancing out for proteins? And also, how are you keeping it fun, right? And so, man, life without ketchup is, or barbecue sauce, or, great mustard. I mean, it's kind of even though they're very mainstream, I mean, maybe cliched, but they make life better, and especially for me, where I'm the designated cook in our family. And
Yeah,
you got young kids, they're you make something that's really gourmet, and he's gonna say, my kid's gonna say, it's like, hey, really, God, these tacos are so much better with ketchup, right? Apart from being offended, Rob, like, my other thing is that, okay, at least the ketchup's good for him. This is good ketchup, right? And so, like, it makes my life a little bit better. But I think there are a lot of people like that out there. Now you got some big things going on with the brand, right? It's like, did I hear a rumor that you're launching chain wide all over the country into a really big chain?
Yeah, that's right. And in Sprouts, in a few weeks here, so early September, you'll be able to find our 2 barbecue sauces in a Sprouts near you, which we're super excited about. Sprouts, really is a leader in the industry for innovative young brands that are trying to do something unique, and something that's going to make people healthier. So we just couldn't be more excited to partner up with them.
That's so exciting. Congratulations to you and Matt and your significant other. And this is just great news. Where all is Sprouts?
Yeah, so Sprouts, they're based out of Phoenix. So they've got a very big West Coast presence between Arizona, Nevada, California, and they're really growing fast. So they really go coast to coast now, all the way to Florida. Some stores on the East Coast as well, and sprinkled throughout the Midwest.
And the other part of this is that people can buy directly from you too, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. We have, of course, our website, haloandcleaver.com. And then we also have an Amazon store as well. Really, if you just look up Halo and Cleaver in your search browser on Amazon, you'll find us there too.
And let me ask you this: how important is innovation in your ongoing business?
Yeah, it's very important. Again, when we really looked at the sauce category, right, and what existed there, you look at a lot of conventional barbecue sauces, and again, sugar, corn syrup. You saw a lot of that type of product out there, and thankfully, there are other brands like us, right, that said, "Hey, there's got to be a better way." We certainly weren't the first to do that, um, and you see some products sweetened with things like stevia. Allulose is becoming popular. Sucralose, which is an artificial sweetener. Yeah, we kind of simplified our innovation approach, and we said, you know what? What's the most recognizable sweetener that's just natural to Mother Earth, right? And we said, hey, it's fruit, right? It's apples. And a lot of this, I got to credit my business partner Matt. I should mention as an aside, is a professional sauce maker. So he's made sauces professionally for big clients all over the world, like Panera Bread, Mod Pizza. So he was really the driving force behind the recipes. And so that's really what we thought. We tried to simplify it, and we said, what are people going to recognize and when they pick up a bottle and they read a label, right? And kids too, right? If they're eating our ketchup, like my kids, you mentioned your kids have eaten the ketchup. They eat ours by the spoonful, right? And they love looking at the bottle and saying, "Hey, look, there's apples on there. There little pictures of apples, bananas, right?" Just very accessible. And so we're thinking as far as our future innovation strategy, we're thinking a lot about how do we take this fruit sweetened concept into other categories that, quick and easy meals, things like that. There's a lot of possibility that we're thinking about.
I mean, the first thing that comes to mind is lasagna. I don't know why.
Yeah.
I'm like lasagna, man. It's like you know what's in the sauce. I mean, it's like you're using the sauce off the shelf, right, to make it. And so, it's interesting. I was talking to Rob Vetter a couple of weeks ago. He's the founder of Tessie May, which is a huge, pioneer in the dressing space. And you guys have something deeply in common, which is you're family driven. And so when you're thinking about these products, you're thinking, hey, would would I want my kid to eat this? And I think that's other than the fact that you have all the other philosophy elements, that itself is a way to change the world, right? You're starting at home.
Yeah, 100%. And, to Rob, I mean, we eat a lot of Tessemays at home. We use their ranch religiously, big fans of what they do. And yeah, this is a family story for sure. And my kids are toddlers. They're pretty young, 4 and 2. And ketchup for sure, I mentioned, but even the barbecue sauces are something that they love and sort of expands their palate too, right? I mean, I don't think I ate barbecue sauce when I was young, but it definitely is something that's important to my wife and I, that our kids have experiences when they're young of eating natural flavors, right? That come from natural sources, and that again, like, we bring some awareness to them. That we want them to make their own decisions as they grow older, but bring some awareness to them that, hey, you can still have delicious food, right? You don't have to sacrifice on taste and quality. But if you find something that's just thoughtfully crafted, it can still be delicious and be good for you, right? You don't have to have a ton of sugar in something in order for it to be delicious. There's other ways to do it. And it doesn't just apply to what we're doing in sauce, right? There's hundreds of thousands of other brands like ours that are doing incredible things that we support. Um, and so we feel like we can expose their palate to that and just, sit around the dinner table and talk about the importance of food without putting too much pressure on it. That by the time they're making their own decisions, right, we hope that they've been exposed to enough, right? And we haven't really forced it upon them. It just feels, natural to them.
Man, that's amazing what you said. I mean, food is a family matter. And if I said Rob Vetter, I'm sorry, I meant Greg Vetter. And that was the thing that he was emphasizing is that, when people are ready to steal your product from someone else's house, you got something, right? Because it's so good, they just gonna slip it out of someone else's house because they love it. Okay? And if you think about it, if someone really took a bottle of your product out of my fridge, I probably wouldn't notice it for 2 or 3 days, you know. But it's like then you know. Anyway, now you're a runner, and running keeps you sane. Let me ask you this: in the marathons that you've run, is there a parallel at mile 20 with being a founder, and what is that?
Great question. Well, I say I'm a dad jogger now. I'm getting back to being a competitive runner. I've got the itch to run a little faster now that I've sort of figured out this parenting thing. But short answer, yes. I think there's a lot of parallels between running a small business, a startup, and marathoning. I'll tell you, we are not at mile 20. We're in the early stages, right? In those early miles where we're trying to figure it out, settle in, and just keep, moving forward one foot in front of the other. But absolutely, I actually think the marathoning mindset, there's a lot of parallels just between running and business. It's processed, right? I mean, I know, Duncan, you said you're a runner as well, and really any athlete out there, anybody that's, committed themselves to something like that. I mean, running a business it's a process, right? And you have to have the dreams and the visions and the goals. But I've learned through running that goals are a little overrated, right? You got to have them. But if you're always just focused on the mountaintop, you're always just looking up and you're not moving forward. So you have to kind of set those goals aside and you just one foot in front of the other. Not to sound cliche, but it's true, because you have many days where you question why, well, why am I doing this? Why did I leave something, in my case, a pretty secure career path, to do this, right? And so you definitely need that endurance, like you said, to keep moving forward.
I mean, it's interesting, right? I know that at different points of my life, if I've gotten away, which is more often that I've gotten away from running than running, but when you're one of the parallels I think about, is if you're heavier than you normally are when you run at your best and you suddenly start running, it's like operating a company with a lot of bloat. You got too many people, and it's hard to operate. And so it's interesting. So in the early stages, so yeah, you're right. You're trying to find your rhythm. But you're also trying to stay focused on, I got to get through, another X number of miles. So that's fascinating. Um, are you still running?
I am. I actually just ran right before I jumped on a call with you.
All right. Well, that's why it's such a good mood. I like it. So let me ask you this: with all the people out there that are they're thinking about starting a company, and they want to do some kind of food company. What would you say to them? What advice would you give them as they're thinking about it, other than don't do it because it's a long journey?
Yeah, I mean, there is something to be said for, hey, you have to, on a personal note, assess, is this is this right for me and my family? If you have a family, or whoever else is important in your life that is going to be along for the journey, right? It does take, I consider myself lucky I'm a runner, right? Because it does take a fair amount of endurance, to get traction. I think we hear a lot of stories of, instant success or quick success, and it can be intoxicating. But I would argue that I think maybe we've romanticized that a bit. And even those companies that had quick success had a lot of pain and struggle and maybe previous failures. So I think you have to assess your own personal tolerance for ambiguity, for waking up every morning and you're really driving the ship, right? And your efforts are directly tied to the success of the company, the financial success potentially of your family, right? And so if you're wired for that, then sure, I think then starting a business makes sense. And then, there's practicalities, of course, in terms of, is there a space in the market for what you're doing? And if we're talking food and beverage, which we are here, I'm certainly no expert, but what I've learned is, yeah, there has to be space in the market for what you're doing, because it's obviously crowded. You have to stand out in some capacity and be differentiated. So the earlier you can figure out what really makes me distinctive, and where can you find those first 1,000 fans, right? That will be just ambassadors for your brand. And if they're in love with it, chances are there's probably a bigger market for what you're doing. So generally speaking, I mean, that's how I look at it.
That's definitely a long game. I love that you said that. And founder life, we don't talk enough about founder life. Like founder life is hard, right? You're working around life and you're living around work. I mean, both, right? And so weekend trips to Indianapolis to hang out at Fresh Time, and sample the product, getting the product in people's hands, and you're leading from the front. And so that's really something I think that a potential founder has to think about, is like, hey, you're gonna have those days. And actually Greg Better said that. There's another quote there, when life uppercuts you. But the one I heard, and he was a founder of another Kapop, actually said that, it's the 2x4 rule. When you're an entrepreneur, you're going to get hit by a 2x4 at least 3 or 4 times a week,
Oh
and
yeah, yeah,
you're going
yeah.
to fall down and then you're going to get back up.
Yeah. There's absolutely some truth to that. And yeah, I think you got to be willing to. I mean, depending on your background and where you come from, what you were doing professionally before. I mean, if you're coming from a desk job, day to day management, whatever, you got to be willing to get your hands dirty, and go sell your product and actually hear from consumers. I mean, that's how you and I met, obviously. And and what do people actually think, right? And what are they saying? And then you just discover in those conversations that there you might learn something new about where your company could go, or maybe a product tweak, or like one thing we've learned, for example, is we actually have a lot of people when we do a product demo, or we're at a farmer's market and we say, hey, you want to try a sample of ketchup or barbecue sauce? They'll say, hey, I don't like ketchup. And we'll say, oh, well, how come? And a lot of times it's, oh, well, it's just a little too sweet or syrupy for me. And we'll say, well, try ours. Ours is a little different. And they try it and they say, oh, wow, I actually really do like that. And the insight that we got from that has been actually really valuable, because we realize their frame of reference is, again, kind of a traditional high sugar corn syrup, very syrupy, glossy ketchup, right? And their palate doesn't like that. And there's actually a space for us to message to, the natural kind of smooth sweetness of our ketchup. And again, just an example, like an insight that I wouldn't have gotten if we just farmed out all of our, our product demos, and how, got to talk to customers. I think that's really essential.
That's an amazing insight. I'll give you one. You just triggered my recollection of when I met you guys. Is I remember I tried the barbecue sauce and I tried the ketchup, but I have no freaking idea what I tried it with. I remember the ketchup and I remember the barbecue sauce, but I do not remember the product that you had it on. So there you go. It's like, I mean, it might have been a pita chip or I don't know, whatever it was, but I have no recollection, but I remember the product. So, I mean, there's something there. Now, let's go back to the product for a second. And I love the positioning: slice the bad, right? No added sugar, no high fructose corn syrup, no gluten, no dairy, no soy, no GMOs, no fake stuff. Keto friendly and Whole30 approved. And if that wasn't good enough, and these are your words, still tastes a little naughty. So, really smart marketing. Who's the mover behind that? That's just it's clever.
Yeah, we've had some good partners along the way, that we've worked on, specifically. Yeah, our copywriter, Courtney, we have to credit with that. Captured really the essence of what we're going for with Halo and Cleaver, which is, the name is this dichotomy of good and evil, but it's also, we say, there's sort of the perfect side, or the heavenly side, right? The halo, right? And then there's this Cleaver side, which is a little irreverent, imperfect. Life's a little messy, right? You look at our bottles, there's spilled sauce all over the bottles, because that's the reality of life, right? And that's the reality of our household. And we don't want to be this sort of picture of perfection, because we're not perfect. Nobody's perfect, and life gets a little messy sometimes. So, we have a little fun along the way.
I mean, it's a fascinating background that Matt brings to the table too, right? Because he comes from, I think you guys call it meat lineage, right? So his grandparents owned a butcher shop.
That's right. Yeah, still do, I believe. Yeah, his grandfather is a butcher, and so that's the Cleaver's kind of a homage to his family as well. And then Matt's also a competitive barbecue pit master. So not only is he a sauce maker, he knows his barbecue. So we're lucky that we have his talents.
I mean, it's a fascinating story, and let's talk a little bit about the Thai chili ketchup. Is that a newer product for you guys, and what's the inspiration?
Yes, that's our newest product that we launched earlier this year. It's really a unique play on a spicy ketchup, right? I mean, there are other spicy ketchups in the market, and we thought about, well, how can we kind of carve out a niche for something that's a little bit different, brings, some more global flavors, right? There's definitely more appetite for global flavors. And, Matt had some anecdotal insights just in some of his previous work, and even looking at the market and food service and restaurants. Thai chili ketchup was starting to pop up on the restaurant scene, and as sort of a craft ketchup option. And really that's what informed it, right? So we, of course, you get the spice that you would expect, but you get, again, some of these other flavors, like we use fresh ginger, lemongrass, some other spices that just give it more of an aromatic balance to the spicy, and then you still get your, again, sweetness from the apples.
I mean, I have to try that. I haven't tried that one. I mean, I'm excited because I love sort of, I'm Indian, so I love spices, but I also love the natural aromas, as you call them, the lemongrass, the cilantro, the ginger, the garlic. And it's interesting. We were at the Sweets and Snacks show earlier this year, a huge show, and you're right. You're totally right. The amount of like global influence that's seeping into the industry, and I think Americans in general are wanting adventure in their food. They want to eat clean and they want adventure, and so I think it's fascinating to see cayenne, for example. My biggest takeaway was cayenne is everywhere. Like, to eat snack gummies that have, cayenne in them, coming out of the San Fernando Valley in California and Mexican cuisine. And to see that, and the cayenne so many places. So that's really exciting that you guys are doing that. What can you say, or is it a secret? Can you say what, one of your next product ideas might be?
Yeah, I mean, I could tell you this much detail. We're of course looking at our current categories in barbecue and ketchup and some different flavor profiles, particularly around barbecue. And then the other thing we're thinking about is, how can we get, um, how can we take, again, fruit sweetened as kind of our base for quick and convenient meals, right? Some sauces that could really give, let's call it, busy families, busy professionals, a quick meal, but that's also healthy and delicious. So that's kind of the creative brief that we're working on at the moment.
That's amazing. Thanks for sharing that. What do you and your wife, who I know is one of the founders as well, what do you guys do for fun when you're, is it food oriented? Is it with the kids? Is it without the kids, or both?
Yeah, both. Certainly. We like to get the kids outdoors, that's for sure. But no surprise, we love food, right? And even though we're really into, clean eating, healthy, we also like adventure, right? Anytime we go, we like to travel a lot too, but anytime we travel, it's how we like to experience the city, is we kind of eat our way through the city, and the flavors that are unique to that place. So that's, before we had kids, that's really how we got to know each other, and that was kind of our dating life, right? Is we love to eat and travel. So those are really the two things that, when we find time, it's a little harder these days with two young ones at home. That's what we still like to do.
Well, this has been great. Let's inform everyone again how they can find you. It's haloandcleaver.com.
That's right. Haloandcleaver.com. If you're in the area of any local Sprouts, Fresh Time, Rayleigh's, Schnucks here in the St. Louis area, you can find us there. Amazon as well. And you can follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Halo and Cleaver.
Yes, do follow them. They're fun to follow. Yeah, thank you so much for doing this. And next time we're in the same city together, we're definitely eating together. And I gotta rush out to get my Thai chili sauce. So this has been another episode of Firebelly Social Show, where we feature founders of food and food and beverage mission driven companies. I've had too many lattes today. So and sponsored by Firebelly, where we make brands more likable on social media. Thank you so much, Rob, and everyone. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening to the Firebelly Social Show. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.